Thursday, June 5th. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Here is the position disclosure. It is, I believe, the exact same as yesterday, though the size has definitely changed. I almost got out of Tesla. My target in this Tesla's been 270. It got to 273 spot 20. You got real close. Reduced size the whole way down. Lot of drama. Oh man, a lot of drama. I'm waiting for Avago to report, aka Broadcom. They call themselves Broadcom, but they kept the old Avago symbol. And that's going to move some of my names, so we got to keep an eye on this. We're probably going to continue to get news and headlines out from Trump and Elon, so I already see some being posted. I'll just read them out loud because I'm reading it really for myself, but I don't want radio silence. Trump says, I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. If this bill doesn't pass, there will be a 68% tax increase and things far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country on a path of greatness. And then Elon with a tweet here. In light of the president's statement about cancellation of my government contracts, I missed that one. SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. I don't really remember what that is. I guess that's a response to Donald Trump 6 months ago saying the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Okay, boys and girls, things are a little heated out there, it seems. I'm still actively trading a couple of these names right now, and things are still moving. I'm still very actively trading Tesla as well, to be honest. So I'm going to do my best on this meeting. But things are moving so hard. And then we got Avago here. I think that Palantir's just trading down naturally on its own here after hours. I don't think that that's new news. It just was already smoked during the day. Palantir also had bad news today. Palantir had bad news related to, I don't remember, one of their contracts that the Republicans decided that they don't want to do or something like that. Really was hitting the stock down. But I'll tell you that Palantir hadn't been trading right for a while to begin with, in my opinion. It had been very consistently heavy with a major seller there for quite some time. It was able to get that boost on that big MOC at the end of the last month and then be able to kind of hold up a bit. I'm going to do my best to try to give ourselves a normal afternoon meeting, but again, I'm going to be trading, and I really got to see what happens with this Avago because I've got names that are correlated heavily enough with it and positions in the S&P and the NASDAQ that are going to move on it. Tesla getting smoked back down here, working its way towards its day low, which is about 273. Change this chart to include the after hours. Avago should be out in 30 seconds. Really important name. That AVGO has had a huge run up into this earnings report. That JP Morgan's note said that is a 9 out of 10 in positioning. They could blow out earnings and go higher, but I think that the risk is to the downside on this report. I think if they report like kind of in line-ish, that the stock will maybe sell off a little bit like CrowdStrike. But let's find out here. I think it should be coming out in 10 seconds or so, 5 seconds. So let's see. AVGO, what are you going to do? No movement. Oh, there we go. Down tick. Down ticking. My NVIDIA's down ticking. AVGO beats on net revenue. Beats on EPS. They're both small beats. Semiconductor Solutions beats. Small. These are all small beats. Here we go. Guidance. They see third quarter revenue about 15.8 billion versus estimates of 15.72 billion. It's also a beat. Every number here is a beat. They're just very tiny. Stock is down ticking on it for the moment. I think that it was like a 6.5% measured move on this. So we're down a little bit here after hours on numbers that are slightly better than expectations. So for the moment here on the initial reaction, and this could change very quickly, it's kind of as expected. Not a bad report at all based on these initial numbers that I'm seeing. Stock ticking down on it. It was just overly priced in with such a big movement in it. Elon going in on Trump and Epstein stuff. Tesla down ticking further. All right, I got to try to manage these positions here a little bit. All the semiconductor names seem to be getting hit down a little bit here. Micron, NVIDIA. Palantir was already getting hit further after hours. I feel like this might be one of those nights where I'm at the computer till later than I want to be. At some point I gotta take care of this dead skunk in my barn. You heard that right. You heard that right. What's going on here? Sorry, just give me a couple of minutes to get some orders in and manage a couple of these positions here a little bit. Yeah, AVGO still down a bit. Nothing necessarily too dramatic. What a crazy day of trading. But the indexes didn't really do anything. Bill K, if you're listening, I wanted to get your thoughts on something with this dispersion that we're seeing in this market. I wrote something into the VTF when Pat was talking, and then I wasn't able to listen to what Pat was saying at that moment because I was doing something else. But I feel like this market is very stuck around flat, especially to the downside. But I also feel like usually these high dispersion environments where the indexes don't move, but certain stocks can move really big, usually happen when you're in like a very overall positive gamma environment. Like we had seen those 10 to $20 billion gamma environments back in 2024. And my understanding of the current environment, obviously it moves as spot moves, but that it's small, like a couple $1 billion positive, probably generally speaking. What is insulating this market so much and creating the dispersion effect? If it's not, I would expect to see at least $8 billion plus of positive gamma for this action that we've been seeing, and has not been that way at all. Tesla investor Ross Gerber notes that Trump's spat is disaster for Musk. Yeah. Yeah, just really crazy world, right? 49, 66. Tesla bouncing back a little bit again. It held the low earlier. Tesla Gerber predicts massive shareholder lawsuits over Musk behavior. Yeah. I mean, if I was a shareholder, I wouldn't be happy, but I am a short holder, so I am happy. And Uber upticking at various parts of the day today. ASTS upticking. This is probably a win for Jeff Bezos. Oh, man. Like always, let's do our best to keep the politics out of it. It's so hard to do that. And just, keep it focused on the stocks in the market. Because, again, here, at the end of the day, Avago's still not doing too much, down a little bit. At the end of the day, Tesla Elon Musk says yes to a post saying President Trump should be impeached. Spies closed down 0.5%. Sorry. A little bit of a pop back and some things. Yes, the spies closed down 0.5%. Q's closed down 0.9%. And that's including it's dropping after hours probably on the semiconductor stuff. The IWM was positive. TLT was flat. Gold. I'm not getting a quote on my GLD. Silver was up 3.5%. Still, big time. Gold finished down. TLT I looked at already. Bitcoin I'm also not getting a quote on. Just got too many contraptions running on this computer all at the same time. I'm trying. There it is. Oh shoot, wow. Bitcoin down 3.8%. Wow. Yeah, keep it clean. Keep it clean, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So again, look, like this market just doesn't want to go down. I don't know what else to say about it. This market does not want to go down at all. Even today, it seemed like the world was falling apart, and the market, the IWM finished positive. Spies were down 0.5%. Q's finished down like 0.75% or so, and that's with Tesla, which is one of the most major components, being down like 15%. This market does not want to move lower. It's really one of the craziest things I was just saying. And I guess Bill's not listening about my question about the gamma and dispersion, which is fine because he's too busy giving us all the good information. I was asking you for, Bill, so I think you would agree, tell me if you don't agree, that we're in like a high dispersion environment again right now, and this market can't seem to go down. So when you got that high dispersion environment, if a stock like Tesla, which is a heavyweight in the NASDAQ, gets smoked, something else is going to have to be up in order to counter that, in order for the market to stay flat-ish, which is what we saw a lot of in 2024. But I feel like in 2024 when we were seeing that, and I know that gamma moves based on spot, but I feel like in 2024 when we were seeing that, generally speaking, we were seeing these heavy, heavy positive gamma environments. We were seeing it where we were plus 8 to 20 billion in terms of positive gamma, and the indexes just absolutely could not move. The environment we're in right now, where we're seeing this dispersion recently, doesn't seem to be marked by anywhere near that. Look how much vol was priced for today, and yeah, what you're saying is right, but it doesn't need to be just from gamma. It can be that everyone is betting against the SPX moving. Okay. Yeah, because the gamma environment, I know it's positive again, but it's small compared to what we were seeing. But if it's just the short-dated equity vol term structure versus the economic events here, so I guess if just enough people have almost kind of similar to the self-fulfilling prophecy of that iron condor when we see it come in, where it's so big that it's hard for the market to move outside that range, that if people are putting on similar bets at size, it makes it difficult for it to move out of that range. But let me know if you agree with this statement or thought process. If there is an event that's big enough to cause it to move out of the range that enough market participants are betting against, then that actually could create a violent reaction if you can kind of break out of the range. Is that a correct thought process? So I would think that you would kind of need probably the S&P, based on some of the numbers that I was looking at on like the straddle for the week and stuff. I think I saw that out this morning. You probably really need the S&P to move down or up, probably more on the downside, like more than 1.25% or so, 1.25%, 1.5%, and then it could start to really build on itself. That makes a lot of sense. I knew you would have an answer for me, sir. I knew you'd have an answer for me. I appreciate it. So yeah. Anyway, we're just back in a high dispersion environment where the market is struggling to move. It's struggling to break down. Every dip is bought. Um, it happened. The market expected no movement, so if we did move, think how many people would be off sides. Yeah, exactly. But if enough people are expecting are betting that it won't, it creates that self fulfilling prophecy. That's why this is so much about this is market dynamics, right? Like I've been absolutely blown away this entire week that this market has not been able to break down on any of the bad news. It has been one thing after the next. It's all market structure. It's all market structure. It seems like it trumps the technicals, though technicals and that market structure probably go hand in hand, and makes fundamentals not matter like pretty much at all. But yeah, I've just been blown away the entirety of this week that we have not been able to sell down. And then this morning we had it feels forever ago. We had the weekly unemployment claims come out, and again, not a massively important number, and it was slightly higher than expected. We downticked very small on it. It was technically bad news, but then we ripped all the way up, and then oh my god! And then I forgot Trump and Xi spoke today. Completely forgot about that till right now when I'm looking at this chart. It feels like it was a month ago that happened. Very, very common for people to sell options the day before a large event. It gives dealers positive gamma. That pays for people to have long options. There's an uptick. Did Avago just uptick? A little bit, I think. Gotta change this other chart. Yeah, Avago upticking a little bit. NVIDIA just gave a little bit of an uptick. Very common for people to sell options the day before a large event, which gives dealers positive gamma. That pays for the people to have long options for the event. So we gamma clinch the day before large events. Makes sense. 8K just hit Bloomberg and Avago. Appreciate it. So anyway, we briefly at 8:30 had unemployment claims. We went down for like literally not even 5 minutes. Like it was like a minute and a half. And then we got the headline at 8:45 that Donald Trump and President Xi had a phone call. And the market loved it. And we went higher. And a lot of the people here on the team were very rationally saying, look, it's just a phone call. Like, what does a phone call even mean? Like, okay, you guys had a phone call. Like, is there anything of substance behind that? And I totally agree with that thought process. It seems like a nothing burger. It seems like a sell the news event. And at the same time, this market has been so strong. We've had multiple bad economic events come out this week, except for on Tuesday. Tuesday we had a JOLTS number that was good, and that was able to bring us higher all day on Tuesday, but all the bad economic events don't seem to ever actually bring us down. So I was like, just with this market environment, I agree with you guys that the fact that they had a phone call doesn't mean anything, but we could go higher on it. It's not impossible. And it also blew my mind, the reaction and how strong we were seeming, because last week on Thursday and Friday, we saw a deterioration in the China-U.S. relationship, and they were accusing each other of violating the trade agreement that was created in Switzerland and all that stuff. And we didn't go down on it. We went down for 15 minutes. So it's like, all right, that was bad, but we didn't go down. But now the resolution of that happened today, and we're going to go up? Like, that doesn't make any sense either. So all the same, this environment has been so strong. You have to be a little bit careful, and we know that Elon Musk says the Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year. Whoo boy. So, oh man, what was I just talking about? Anyway, market was just really strong off of that that conversation, the fact that they actually spoke, even though it was never weak when things deteriorated. And then lo and behold, when the market opened, they sold the news. And we were like, oh, is this time going to be different? Are we actually going to get follow through to the downside? When, as we've been saying for like a week now, trying to push any downside price action has just not paid at all. Not only has it not paid, you've gotten punished for it. So I'll give you an example here. Market sells off. It sells below the starting point of the Trump-Xi phone call announcement. That's bearish, right? It means that the people that bought on that announcement, they're out of the money. Short sellers who got squeezed out might have to re-short, or at least they're not covering on the way down, which would create buying. It would hold the market up. And then we get a natural oversold bounce, right? Like at 9:55, we put in a little bit of a pivot low. We're probably due for a little bit of a bounce back. And I said this in a recent event where the market sold one day earlier this week, I think, and that it's in the bounce back that you really test the conviction of the bears. Like that's the key, especially that like first real bounce back. Do you get a pivot high in the equilibrium zone most likely that then leads to new lows? If so, you know sellers are stepping down, you're potentially building out a downtrend, you potentially could get continuation. Or does kind of the opposite happen? Um, like we just bounce back up and the sellers never present themselves and that's it. In this market, every single time, if you've tried to push for downside continuation in an environment that has started out weak on a small time frame, you've been punished for it. Here's another example. 10:05, we get a pivot high through the ADMA. We drive down, we close at lows. This is a great candle to go short off of most of the time. Weak environment, a little bit of a bounce back. Let's push the short side. I think Josh was calling out that he, like, nice and early too, like right in the beginning of the tail being formed at probably a pretty good price. Josh was like, I'm shorting off this high, call me crazy. Let's see if we get some downside continuation. That's exactly the right way to think about it. The trend is your friend on multiple time frames. You know the big picture trend is still higher, so you are fighting that bigger picture trend. But the small picture looks like, hey, maybe today is the day. But again, every time we've gotten this pattern over the course of the last couple weeks or longer now, it fails, and we V-bottom and we go all the way back up. And once again, the exact same thing happened. We bounced back, in my opinion, too far, and especially in the Qs. If you look at the Qs, same deal. They tried to give that lower high to give us downside continuation. You did not get a new low. Then they broke that high, and they were retesting 530 again. And then here at like the 1030, 1035 candles, then we saw headlines primarily actually coming out of China that were giving more clarity on the phone call that President Xi and Donald Trump had. And then you just got a bunch of volatility. You get a real quick dip lower that leads to a much larger move higher. And once again, if you try to push this market to the downside, you just got totally hurt on it, like totally completely hurt. And you know, that's pretty much it. Next thing you know, the market's slowly breaking out. Seems like we're getting follow through to the upside on positive headlines, primarily coming out of China over that conversation. We break above these two tails that were part of the volatility that was coming from, again, just the news as it was hitting. And then things look great. Things look great. Looks like we're going to continue to SPY 600. Looks like we're going to continue to all-time highs. I did call out, you could see it more in the Qs and in the SPYs, what turned into a much better trade than expected. The potential of a failed bull flag up here. Mainly I was just calling that out because of the extension on the 15-minute chart for the time of the day. We were obviously really strong. The market was trending higher and bull flagging. But we know that a lot of time flag patterns will fail if they attempt to break out too early. What does too early mean? it means that the ADMA on the important time frame of that day hasn't caught up yet. So if it's like pre 11 a.m. and the ADMA on the 5 minute hasn't caught up, I don't like those bull flags. Those bull flags that are like in up in outer space and the ADMA didn't catch up to the base of the flag. You usually need that for continuation. Here, the ADMA on the 5 minute caught up to the base of this flag, but this is after 10:30. This is after 11. This is approaching noon. You really need the 15 minute to catch up at that time of the day. And if you turn over to the 15 minute chart, or the ADMA on the 15 usually coincides with the 21 on the 5. So you can just see the 21 was very far away. Or if you look at the 15 minute chart, you can see, boost higher, moving sideways, but this bar hadn't caught up yet. So that kind of makes this 5 minute pattern have a much higher probability of failure. And then when we pushed highs by a couple pennies here at 11.55 but couldn't go, that's actually when I called out, hey, I think maybe you can short this for a failed bull flag move, but I would book profit on it very quick. And then that's exactly what happened. We traded lower into the 21 EMA here. When we actually then were corrected on the 15 minute chart, I was like, guys, I would book some profit here. Keep a little bit just in case we get a failure. But this market is looking so strong, I wouldn't count on the failure. You got a move now for a 15 minute correction. Book some profit on that trade. And then lo and behold, it actually became a failure. And then as the day went on, we started to see this, first of all, there were a few stocks that were hurting the Qs, even though there were others that were helping. Palantir actually being, I think, even before Tesla in some ways. Maybe both of them were moving down. Palantir got hit with that news about Congress. I don't even remember which part of it was, not wanting to give them money or work with them. So that hit down hard. I don't know what Palantir's weighting is in the Qs, but Palantir at this price has got to be a decent market cap, so it's got to be something. And then we started seeing the drama play out with Elon and Trump kind of throughout the afternoon, and it just accelerated and accelerated and accelerated. But even with that, the market couldn't break down. Look at how well we were holding the opening lows, right? Like this 394 intraday support. When we broke down here with Palantir selling down, Tesla selling down, we didn't break the opening low. We held it. And then we kind of made like a wimpy H pattern here that I would argue also bounced more than it should have. And we broke these lows, the 1 p.m. low and the opening low. And all that did was, this tail is real, by the way, with real volume. And all that happened in this candle was some stops triggered, and they triggered right into the buying. The never-ending buying. They triggered right into it. And it tailed right back up. And once again, it was like, it doesn't matter what happens. This market does not know how to go down. And there we are, huge downside tail, right back above 594. And we're looking okay again. Then we got another lower high, another kind of H pattern type of thing in front of that same intraday support. And then when it would begin to test it again, the one headline, honestly, out of all of the Elon Musk, Trump stuff that's going on, and again, I don't want to make this political, I'm just telling you what moved the market, was this move lower when we actually broke again, was when Elon Musk started bringing up the Epstein thing and saying Donald Trump is on the Epstein files, and that's the reason why they're not releasing them. And then the market just got pummeled off of that. And I'll be honest with you, and again, I really don't want to make this political. In my head, I was like, isn't that kind of already known news? Of course he's in the Epstein files. Like everyone has seen the pictures. Like, this isn't new. But I think what is hurting the market more than anything at this point is just how I don't know what the right word is. Hectic things appear to be in the White House right now, with Musk, who was like his right-hand man, just going at Trump so hard with this falling out that they're having. And we got hit down, and then guess what? We still bounced back more than we should have. Tesla now is getting absolutely obliterated because this guy already alienated his traditional base on the left, And now he's alienated everybody that exists, and he doesn't even have Trump in the White House anymore. That gave a huge premium to the stock because it was always like, again, don't want to make this political, but this is what the market was pricing in, was some degree of kind of crony capitalism, where it's like, all right, I spent a lot of money helping you get in the White House, so don't forget about me when things are going well. And the market thought that relationship would just help the company, and now you're losing that premium in the stock. So the stock is completely imploding. Palantir is also completely imploding. Other names like some of the semiconductors are holding up just fine. That goes back to the dispersion concept that we were talking about earlier. And then you get a bounce back that once again is too big. It's like I'm telling you, even with what happened today and what has happened every day this week, this market does not want to go down. And a lot of that, I truly think circles back to just this concept of market structure and market dynamics. We've seen it happen so many times. It was not a coincidence at all. We called for it. That the top of the market, the absolute all-time high in the market, was the day before Feb OPEX. It was just that released things and enabled the movement down to actually occur. And it seems like we're in this environment as well. And that's why the catalyst is important. The timing of the catalyst is even more important. Because, sure, all this news that came out this week, much of it should have brought the market down more than it went down. But that market couldn't go down because of market structure, is what it appears to be. And if, let's say, for example, non-farm payrolls comes out really good tomorrow, then those catalysts that could have brought us lower will never have the opportunity to bring us lower, because we'll already have moved on in the storyline to the fact that things have gotten better and employment still looks really good. And again, that's an if. It'll be very interesting to see non-farm payrolls tomorrow, not just in terms of what the number is. The number itself is going to be interesting, but even more than that, the market reaction. I almost, just out of intellectual curiosity, it would obviously help my positions as well, but I almost, just out of intellectual curiosity, would want to see a weak non-farm payrolls number hit, just to see if the market still can't break. And then it's like, all right, it's we got to be thinking about June OPEX at that point, almost similar to the Feb OPEX of this year, creating that loosening effect that allowed the market to be able to go. Because this market just cannot break no matter what happens. It's one of the most resilient markets to consistently bad news I have pretty much ever seen trading. And then the flip side will also be interesting. If that non-farm payrolls number comes out really good, do we just accelerate to all-time highs basically off of it? Or does the dynamic that's not letting us go down also enable us to not really go up a bit? That hasn't seemed to be that way at all. It has only ever seemed to be it has only ever seemed to be the opposite, that we can't move down. Just hold on 1 second for me, guys. I'm just really sorry. Just give me 1 quick second. Can't do anything about it. All right, I'm back. All right, what was I going to talk about next? So that's kind of the market and where we're at now. We did, I guess, have a little bit of a weaker day today. The SPYs are down 0.5%. But all that did, if you look at the daily chart technicals, is bring us back to this 80 MA on the daily. So overall, these market technicals still look extremely bullish. They're extremely intact. And, that's what's most important right now. I'll still say what I've been saying. Know the levels that we just broke out from. Actually, I guess we closed below it, but we just closed right into that 80 MA on the daily, and now I'm getting a false print that's ruining my chart. But really, if we can hold below SPY 593 and get below that 80 MA on the daily, and if we can hold below QQQ 523, which we're getting hit down much further here after hours. I'm just seeing we're down like $1.50 or so after hours in the Qs. If we can hold below the levels that we broke out from, then finally we may be able to break lower. And also, if all of everything that's going on today, if non-farm payrolls also comes out bad tomorrow, if we can break through like that S&P straddle, that is what Bill was kind of describing earlier, that's holding this market up, you could at some point see a very fast and violent down move that just hasn't been able to trigger yet because we're still above the levels where all that dynamic market structure positioning support is coming in. I just don't exactly know where that price is. Um, it's got to be lower than where we were today. We got to see downside follow through on non-farm payrolls. We got to get below the breakout levels. We got to get below the 80 MA on the daily. We know that the CTA medium-term trigger is still really far away. It's below like Friday a week ago's low from, or I think it's actually within the range now of the May 23rd day. But you guys with the jokes right now. At a certain point, if we can break below some levels, it will feed on itself. So just be mentally prepared that while we're in an environment right now that has been dramatic in how well it's been able to hold up, if we can break below certain spots, it can really feed on itself. So we'll see if that happens or not. We'll see what happens with non-farm payrolls. It's going to be a really, really important one. It's going to be like a warm-up, I think, for starting to see the economic impact of tariffs on the U.S. economy. I still don't think that we're going to fully see that until a little bit later in the summer. But like tomorrow should be like the first kind of little taste of it. So we'll see what those numbers look like, and they should be market moving. I'm trying to think if I have anything else. Whoa, what did that just happen? That's very weird. I don't know how I just got sent out triple filled in Tesla, but I was able to get it back. I'm happy to turn it over now to all of you great people for any questions that you may have. All right, scrolling up here in the VTF, what's Bill telling me? Oh, is the Broadcom 8K? I'll have a look at that after the meeting. Thank you. Zero GTE and single name is going to be very interesting. Do we have a date for that? Lulu getting smoked after hours. Lulu getting pounded lower. Look at this Lululemon getting smoked. Lulu sinks 21% after cutting full year profit outlook. From Roth, the thing that made it worse was that the conflict started when Tesla had gone through 200, the 200-day, and then the 50-day. It was like perfect timing for technical sells. Yeah, it was also right after we had lost. I had been talking about the importance of the support level at 330 in Tesla just a couple trading sessions ago, like 330 to 333. But if we lose that, we could see downside follow through. And then I guess it lost those moving averages as well. It was just kind of one thing feeding into the next in combination with the bad news there. But so impressive how well the market itself was able to hold up. TT giving me the top holdings in the Qs. Nvidia over 8%, Microsoft over 8%, Apple 7.5%, Amazon. The weightings are so big. Broadcom is 5% of the Qs. Wow. Broadcom is 5%. Oh, Palantir is rounding out like this top 10. Is this a top 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, Alphabet in there twice doesn't count. Palantir basically coming in 10th place of market cap weighting. Only like 1.8%. But yeah, you know, still pretty important company there now for the NASDAQ getting hit down. Cool. Thank you for that information. Really good information. Sorry, got to fill in a couple of things. All right, what else you guys got? Rock saying we can go below 500 and the Qs to look good. Yeah, the Qs don't look broken. They look range bound even at 500. You know, I think it's below 490 that you have a problem, which we're very far away from, and still SPY 570 to like 575. Really below SPY 570, the market has a problem. But for sure, Qs could go all the way down to 500 and still be like range bound at that point and not be broken, just be kind of technically neutral. Yes, it's a good observation. Um, Turning over to YouTube. What's up, Scott? I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. What's going on, Ben? Am I bearish in general? So the technicals say to be bullish, and that's extremely important to me. I can't say that I'm bearish in general when the technicals are as bullish as they are. I think that the fundamental story right now is more bearish than bullish and don't justify the degree of the bounce back that we've had in the market. And I think that the market dynamics, which is the third kind of major thing I pay attention to, are neutral. So you could say very broadly when it comes to me personally for trading and how I like to trade is sorry. You could say very broadly for the way that I trade. I like to look kind of at three things in conjunction with each other. They're not necessarily all of equal importance, but I do technical analysis. Technical analysis is bullish. I like to look at market dynamics and market structure. We spent a decent amount of time talking about that in today's afternoon meeting, and I would describe that as neutral. And I like to look at the fundamental picture, which I think is bearish. Um, so I also am a big believer in continuity of the message of the market to give me conviction. And if I got one of the main things I like to look at saying that's bullish and one that's neutral and one is bearish, it's hard for me to have a lot of conviction. So am I bearish in general? I can't say that I'm bearish in general. I would say I'm a confused boy. I'm just very, very confused. I've got three different messages, and I am waiting to be less confused when those messages are able to align a little bit better. Um, and that hasn't happened. Uh, Steve Bannon is urging Trump to cancel all of Musk's contracts, launch investigations into him, and deport him. And deport him. He's got to be a U.S. citizen now, right? I actually don't know the answer to that. I'm assuming that Elon Musk at this point, even though he wasn't born here, is a U.S. citizen. But, you know, maybe we should just send him to prison in El Salvador. I'm just kidding. I would never, ever want that for anyone. No problem, Ben. From Cyril, do you remember when it was the opposite situation at the beginning of the year when there was constant selling? All tops were sold and it lasted for weeks. That was kind of in that range in the beginning of the year that we were in. Yeah, that was another environment where we were very, very tight, right? Where we couldn't really break in either direction. And, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Tesla also. No problem, Ben. Anybody else have anything? What a day. Oh, man. All right. Well, if no one else has anything, we'll wrap it up there. We'll see what happens with non-farm payrolls tomorrow. Pat, Pat, please. Pat with the jokes. Oh, man. All right. Have a great night, everybody. See y'all tomorrow. If you're on YouTube, you know what to do. Give me the thumbs up. I appreciate it.